If you had one shot, or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it? Just let it slip. Yo.
Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, with your show Profit Time. Coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. I was going to say almost rainy Louisville, Kentucky, but I didn't want to jinx myself quite yet. But no, looking outside, it's almost rainy Louisville, Kentucky. But hey, we got out, we got about, we're started, we're doing what we can do. We talk about it all the time. If you had one chance, one opportunity, would you take it? You're just going to let it slip away. It's things every day come up in our business, yours as well as ours. And each and every one of us that we make decisions, on the fly each and every morning, so hopefully so far this morning you haven't had to do too many decision-making things that were out of the realm, but, it is what it is. It's a Monday. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Maybe things got kicked off good. And I appreciate the text this morning too, man. Several of you guys sent me some texts this morning early. And, Doug, I appreciate the text you just shot in here, man. Overcast there, no rain. But hey, good deal. Glad to know that. Hammer it out while you can. Happy Monday, Craig, to you too. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you guys listening this morning. We've got a great show planned. So far this morning, I know y'all have been listening to Eric and Hecapus and Daniel with the pump station, and here it is. It's Monday. It's my turn for Profit Time. I'll try to fill the shoes of those before me. And I sincerely mean that. It's like one after the next, and we all try to share some good advice, good information to help you run your business, your mind, and everything. Your well-being. And we'll talk a little bit about. That was tough to spit out. A little bit about everybody's well-being, and coming off of the weekend, how that well-being is for you. Hopefully, you had a chance. So. Just decisions we make, and Doug's got a few there he sent me as well. So, we'll talk about that. But, today, before we get into today's show a little bit, I want to talk about what you did over the weekend. I know some of you guys said you were had a little travel ball going on with your kids, and, you had weekend plans, you were going camping. I think somebody told me also that they were had their camper all set up, ready. They were going to go do a little camping. I know I went and spent the weekend in my RV and had a good time. Went down to Thunder over Louisville. It was an awesome time. You don't even have to like fireworks to. I mean, that's the gist of the whole thing is the fireworks that they have in the evening. But man, it's the kickoff to what we call our Kentucky Derby Festival per se, and Derby's always the first Saturday of May around here. And that's our big push date. Every market's got their push date of what needs to happen when, and hey, well, if you can get it done by this date, hey, knock yourself out. Those kind of push dates, and Derby's our big push date, without a doubt. So, it's nice that we're kind of creeping in on it, man. Things are kind of ease up just a little bit. Things ease back a little bit about using that Derby as the thumb on top of us and the push point of saying, hey, man, if you can get it done by Derby, let's go ahead and get this done. So, unfortunately, I had something that doesn't happen real often this morning with a customer coming in. That's not the unfortunate part, but I was going to say, unfortunately, I mean landscape-wise, unless somebody just really knows somebody around here and is going to get pushed to the head of the line for some reason or another. We're booked out, obviously, like you guys are, way past Derby, so that first Saturday in May. But we always try to sneak in as many easy ones as we can as well. Like today, if we get some rain, we get rained out a couple hours or whatnot, and, you guys know how wet the ground is in a lot of different places across the country right now. maybe we can't dig. Maybe it's a situation where we can't dig. So if we got just a mulch and trim job to do, those are things we kind of fill in with. On days when we can't do full blown landscape stuff. So we'll see how that goes this afternoon. Maybe right now we're full blown, everybody out doing our thing, and we'll see what happens weather-wise, and then we'll go from there. Same thing you're going to do today, right? Make those daily adjustments that we have to make, So, but, hey, I hope you had a good chance this morning to listen to my buddy, like I said, Eric and Hecapus and Daniel. And if you missed their shows, we got the replays now. And we also got a new website, turfsupradio.com. If you guys have not had a chance to check out our website, take a few minutes to do that. Don't do it right now if you're driving. But, hey, when you get an opportunity, check it out, turfsupradio.com. And let us know. Give us some feedback on it. And we're just trying to make it a little more interactive for you guys and easier. It's all about how can we make things easier with our businesses, right? We think the same with that same mindset with Turfs Up Radio. So with all that being said, we're going to take a short break here, and we're going to come back, and I want to hear a little bit about what you guys did over the weekend. 502-550-8307. For you guys new that are listening, put this in your phone, 502-550-8307. I want you to be sure to text me during my show. Get involved. I need the interaction. It helps me make my business better as well. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
Playing the best music.
Hands down and dirty. Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up.
Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Attention all veterans. Have you heard about Turfs Up Radio's Jobs for Vets program? If you are looking for a job and you're interested in working in the landscape and snow removal profession, there just might be a company in your local area that is looking to hire. All you have to do is send us your resume at jobsforvets@turfsupradio.com. That's jobsforvets@turfsupradio.com. Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Creating art from darkness. For over 20 years, Cast Lighting has designed and manufactured the world's most durable, energy-efficient, and technically advanced landscape lighting products available at astonishingly affordable prices. Cast offers an all-encompassing line of products with everything you need to get the job done. Cast Lighting gives you innovative, state-of-the-art, old-world craftsmanship with tomorrow's technology. Visit their website at cast-lighting.com today. That's cast-lighting.com.
Check it out, cast-lighting.com. Aaron can tell you about that for sure. Said he's burying some landscape wire today, man. Good for burying wire.
Isn't it nice when the weather cooperates and crews complete jobs on time and on budget? But weather can cause delays, and with paper route sheets, jobs get lost in the shuffle. That's why you need Aspire Crew Control scheduling software, an easy-to-use, flexible, and affordable solution that allows you to shift schedules with a single click. Try Aspire Crew Control for free at aspirecrewcontrol.com.
Aspire Crew Control. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to check that out. Because I know you're thinking, man, I'm only a 1-truck operation or 2-truck operation. I don't need anything like that. I can easily do it, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times, like I always say, we're good at giving ourselves reasons and excuses on why we don't do something rather than why we should. And, just think about improving your opportunities for success and improving those efficiencies. Check it out. Let Aspire Crew Control be part of that for you.
Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., The Weekend Review.
The Weekend Review.
Join King Darren and all of your favorite Turfs Up radio hosts, including Heculus, Eric, the Turf Teacher Jones, Wayne, the Prophet Bowles,
One opportunity.
his son Daniel, LaFord, the Green Veteran, and many more. Join us live as we unpack the week and share what you may have missed live on Turfs Up Radio. That's The Weekend Review, Saturdays, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Oh, yeah. Be here before we know it next Saturday. Not trying to wish our life away. Daniel was talking about that today on his show, not wishing your life away, but ways you can improve and improve your opportunities for success, not just with your business, but certainly with your mental health and your lifestyle and eating habits and, things that we a lot of times don't do that we could do. So, hey, check it out. If you hadn't had a chance to download the podcast on the Pump Station, be sure to check that out. Anywhere where you like to get your podcast, just simply go in there, type in the Pump Station, and there it is. Also, Profit Time. If you miss any of our shows or any shows here on Turfs Up Radio, just go to where you like to get your podcast. You can easily go to our website and find them, turfsupradio.com, and listen to anything you missed, share them with your friends, and let's help each other be different and better at what we do. And we're going to talk about that a little bit when we come back. We're going to take a little Foreigner break here for a minute. Thought we'd listen to a little bit of Foreigner for a second. And when we come back from that, we're going to talk about how we can do things a little bit different and better and perceive value of something I ran into today that I wanted to share with you guys.
Well, we'll show you double. I get it every night. Ooh, I need double vision. I need. It takes me out of my head. Taking me out of my head. Double vision. I get my double vision. Stop seeing double. Double vision. Can get you into double trouble. Know what I mean? Double vision. You need double vision. How long? Yeah, tell me. How strong? How much do you need? Double vision. Yeah. Oh, when it gets through to me, it's always through to me. My double vision gets the best of me. So let it get the best of you.
All right there. Little Foreigner, Double Vision. Thought that'd get your blood pumping up a little bit this morning if it ain't already. You know, I know sometimes some of you guys, I'm sure your blood's already pumping pretty good, out hammering it out and trying to beat the rain like we are, and some of you guys might be in the rain already and whatnot. But speaking of the rain, appreciate all the texts, man, from you guys that have tried Gimpler's rain gear, saying, hey, man, it's everything y'all said it was that day talking about it. So absolutely, man, you guys need to check it out if you haven't. I mean, you talk about a value, you know, you simply need to try it. You know, sometimes I know you think, you know, you're listening to something, you listen to hear on Turf's Up Radio or whatever, and, you know, and you're like, oh, yeah, you're just saying that, or, you know, the advertisement's going to say that. But, you know, when you actually use something and try something and, you know, you see that, hey, it really does work, you want to share that with people. And that's the way, you know, we are with Gimpler's rain gear for sure. You know, it works. It's lightweight. It's doesn't cost you a fortune to buy it. I mean, you guys need to just try it out. And I appreciate, seriously, I had about 3 or 4 texts over the weekend and a couple this morning, you know, saying thanks, man, that it's, you know, what you guys said it was. So, hey, check it out if you haven't had a chance to do that. So, anyways, we move along with our show, Profit Time. And that wasn't a commercial for Gimpler's. That was just me thinking about it, getting ready to start raining here again. And, man, glad we got some to throw on if we need it. And when, not if, it's when. That's the reality of it. You know, it's when you need it. So, but anyway, moving on with our show, Profit Time today. Oh, man, it was 87 Saturday when we were down at Thunder over Louisville in that 800,000-plus crowd. But we were kind of in our own little bubble there. We were in a parking lot, you know, so I never got into the crowd. That's not my thing anymore. Used to love to be right in the middle of the madness. But, hey, now, just like the little parking lot we're in, there's about 110 campers and RVs in there that people call home for 3 days. And, man, that's what we were doing. And I appreciate that. And but, hey, that all went good, and we're going to be in the 60s tomorrow, they're saying. So, you know, that happens everywhere this time of the year. But, you know, everybody says, man, it's not just Louisville. It's not just St. Louis. It's not just Chicago. And I don't know, I heard something just there over my headphones. I'm not sure if that was thunder or something else going on. But, oh, Lordy, it's almost here. But, hey, I want to thank my buddy Mike, my weather guy, taking care of us, man. He told me, I asked him, I said, man, what about sending our crews out? He said, send them out, man. You're going to get some few hours in the morning if you want to get it. So appreciate that, Mike. Appreciate that, and love what you guys do to help us here at Wayne's Lawn Service to be successful too. So thank you, man. Appreciate that. If you're listening to us, I know you guys listen to Turf's Up Radio as well, so appreciate that. But, hey, it's last week of April. And as you move into that last week of April, I got to thinking about that this morning when Daniel brought that up on his show. I mean, you guys realize, I mean, we're more than a quarter of the way through the year. And, I mean, we've almost added another month to that. And I just challenge you to ask yourself, you know, what have you done What have you done different? Because you know you've had one chance, one opportunity to do a lot of different things. Have you done anything different? You know, I know Doug had a good weekend. He was saying, Smoking Joe saying good morning. And actually, Smoking Joe, thanks, man. I appreciate you being with us today, too. But Doug was saying he had a pretty daggone good weekend, and that's always good to hear. Said they cleaned up his dad's house and helping him out a little bit since he's got a new knee. Good luck with his new knee, certainly. And then he said he fired up the old smoker on Sunday with some barbecue with some friends. You know, just nothing better than just sitting back and doing nothing, you know, sometimes. It's funny, buddy of mine that I went to Thunder with, we were just sitting there doing absolutely nothing Friday afternoon and Friday evening and, well, the whole time we were there, really. But Charlie's got a business. He does drywall, and he's done drywall for probably 50 years. And he had a pretty big company at one time. He's scaled back significantly now. I think at one point he was running 30 crews. And he was sitting there, and he's like, isn't it funny how you work so hard? Now, this is kind of like an epiphany, man, but it's nothing. It's so simple, it's stupid, okay? I'm just going to warn you. So don't expect too much from it, and it won't be a letdown. But he said, isn't it crazy how you work so hard to sit and do nothing? You know? And I mean, that hit that, man, that was a on target ding, ding, ding for me, man. I said, you're right, man. You guys are the same way. You're out there humping it all the time. And when you finally get to fire up the grill or get in the boat or, you know, go hunting or whatever it is, read a book, whatever it is that you like, man, I think that's just awesome. That's just awesome. Appreciate it. Good morning to you too, Charles. Appreciate all you guys listening this morning. Appreciate you guys listening. But and that takes me to what I want to talk about a little bit about today. And you know, something that I saw. Well, I didn't see it personally, so I'm not going to lie and say I saw it. I didn't see it personally, but I think it's important enough to bring up because it affects each and every one of us here on Turf's Up Radio. You, I'm talking about. Okay? And me. Everybody. Down at Thunder, Daniel, now it's kind of funny. Daniel came down to visit with us for a while, and him and his girlfriend, Caitlin. And Daniel was, y'all going to think this is funny. Daniel was wanting a corn dog, the guy that talks about helping us to eat healthy and all that. But like he always says, you know, you can eat what you want. You just got to know what you're eating, you know what's going on. But so he's wanting a corn dog. So they go to get a corn dog from these food vendors that are parked in the street right in front of us. And they come back carrying a couple corn dogs and stuff. And here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. He's like, you ain't going to believe this. And I said, what's that? He said, the first food vendor they went to, because he was specifically looking for a foot-long hot dog or a foot-long corn dog. The first booth they went to had them, but what do you think they were charging for them? What do you think they were charging for a foot-long corn dog? If anybody wants to shoot me a text, I know we got a bunch of you guys listening this morning. I know because I've got a text from probably 15 of y'all already, you know. What do you think they were charging for a foot-long hot dog? I mean, before I tell you, because I just want to get some guesses, and some real guesses. Don't just throw a number out there high or low just to be, you know, silly, but what you really think. And I'm going to wait for a couple of you guys to get some ideas, and then I'll tell you. But but it all goes back to perceived value. And how many times don't we talk about perceived value? And we're going to talk about it again today for a few minutes because the reality of it is, it's funny seeing y'all's texts come in. Oh, appreciate y'all. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. But, you know, me and Daniel got to talking about it, and I said, you know, it's really neat. It's really neat that they're willing to charge like that much. because Daniel said, we walked up to them because there was nobody in line. Now, keep in mind, it was early in the morning. I mean, it was, 11:30, 12 o'clock. It was late enough to be getting a corn dog, but it was way early before a lot of people were starting to get downtown and getting in their positions on what's called the Great Lawn, which is all that, right along the river and that whole thing. But the reality of it was, and I appreciate all you guys sending your guesses in here, but I said, how much were they? And Daniel's like, man, they wanted $25 for a foot-long corn dog. And I'm like, $25? You're joking. And he said, no. He said, now we went 2 food vendors down, and you got a 6-inch corn dog, half the corn dog, for $6. Think about that. Because what it made me think about, and I swear to God, was my industry, the lawn and landscape industry. How you got somebody on the low end, you got somebody on the high end. You've got people, and I mean, in this environment, you expect to pay more, right? I get that. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you've got a captive audience. You got people that know they're going to be spending money, and I appreciate that, Jesse. I appreciate that. Jesse says they're just listening to Profit Time and they're going to make a profit on a corn dog. But the reality of it was right then they weren't selling any corn dogs. But when it got busy, people that waited in that line were buying their corn dogs and buying whatever else they were selling too. So my point to even share that with you guys, that story with you guys today, is simply this. Don't lose faith in the fact of creating perceived value. Don't lose faith in the fact that we need to create perceived value. Absolutely it is, Doug. Absolutely. And Craig says, was that their minimum price for a corn dog? For them it was. For the strip of food vendors it wasn't, Craig. So for them, yeah, if you wanted a corn dog, that was it. You're going to pay $25 for it. And like I said, after a guy waits in line, or a girl, I'm just not gender specific, but if a person waits in line, they're probably going to pay after they've waited in line for some. They're going to go ahead and do it because they're not going to wait in the next line. Luckily Daniel got up there early enough to where, hey, there was a reason even when there wasn't much of a line in any of them that they went on to the next one just to see, if that was the quote unquote, and God, I even hate to say this word, but I'm going to, going price for a corn dog along the strip. It was like the Las Vegas Strip. But hey, the whole point of that is create perceived value for your service. People will pay it. People will absolutely pay it, but it's up to you to create that perceived value. And, talking about perceived value, had a guy physically knock on our door and come in the office this morning. He had a truck run off in his yard over the weekend. A delivery truck was delivering something to his neighbor across the street and decided to use his yard as their backup area. And the funny part about it was he went out and caught the guy, not caught him, literally caught him, but, he saw it happening. He went out and had told the guy, stop. He said this guy was making a 3-point turn in his yard, and the guy rolled his window up and didn't want to hear it. And he's like, the dude's all up in my, the easement between the sidewalk and the street, tearing his yard up. So Richard was his name. He decided he was going to go try to find a couple lawn services. You talk about, bad timing. 2 weeks from now, he's listing his house, and now he's got the easement's all rutted up. And he said, I knew if I tried to call people, it's tough to get somebody out there. So he said, I've been driving around the lawn services this morning. He said, I've been to 5 lawn services, and you guys were the only ones that had anybody at an office that was even there. He said the rest of them were dark. Didn't even look like they had cars there yet. So, and maybe it's because the weather's not supposed to be great today, and some guys aren't out. And I get that, all that too, whatever your reason is. But I'm sharing this story with you because this guy's in a pinch. We created the perceived value because when he pulled up here, our lights were on, our door was open, we were conducting business. It was a normal day. So in his eyes, we got some value there that our competitors don't have. And we're going to talk about that today, along with a couple other things, but the reality of it is we've got to create that perceived value for our service. And that's what we did for this guy simply by doing nothing other than, because he didn't know anything about us. He said, I said, how'd you find us? Because we sit kind of in a cluster of buildings, We don't even have a sign on our building because our customers, we may have 10 customers a year look for us, okay? They're just not coming here, all right? So, and we sit we're not in the easiest place in the world to find because we're in this cluster of buildings. We purposely don't have a sign on our building because nobody can see a sign from the street from where we're at, so it keeps a lot of cold call salesmen out and people just strumming around the place. But my whole point of this is create perceived value. And for that hot dog group, hey, it was where they were at, what they were going to sell them for. For us, it was something as simple as being here. Something as simple as having the lights on. A place where, now he didn't hire us to do the work yet, and he may not, because I told him, I said, Richard, I said, as much as I hate to tell you this, if this is an insurance job, we don't even bid them. I said, we have a fee for bidding an insurance job, because what we found in our years of experience is that 99% of it, people just get the money, keep it, and go to Lowe's and buy some topsoil and fill the ruts in and keep the money. So we do have a fee that we charge. I'll be happy to do it for you, But I said, the problem is you're listing your house in 2 weeks, man, and we're not probably going to be able to do it for you in that time frame. I said, if I'm going to be probably the one guy that's going to tell you that and be honest with you. I says, but anybody worth their weight is going to be booked right now, at least past Derby, and he's like, well, I appreciate that. He said, I'm having a hard time finding people at home, much less, talking to me like you have. He said, I appreciate it. So I don't know if we're going to work for the guy or not, but hopefully we will. And he didn't have a problem paying us for an estimate. And he says, because I don't like to get involved in billing either insurance companies. I mean, we do it occasionally if the situation's right. Or billing, other companies, I'm just pick a name of somebody that could be delivering something in your market. It doesn't matter who it is. But, because what we've had happen in the past, even in those situations was, their customer that had the ruts in the yard, they would get, nobody would respond. We'd do the work. They'd submit the invoice for payment that they already said was okay. Then by that time, some late ball guys came rolling in with estimates that were lower, and they're like, well, we're just going to pay the lowest of the estimates, and they're going to have to take that or nothing. I'm like, bullshit. I mean, excuse me on that, but, no, we're not taking what they wanted to do. No, we're not doing that. And so my whole point is it created an ill will. So that's why we charge for them. Create the perceived value. Stay away from those kind of jobs if you want true words of advice for the day. That is my truth bomb of the day, without this being Truth Bomb Friday, just so y'all know. But the reality of it is, create that perceived value and, make somebody want to pay for your service. We come back, we're going to talk about route density and how important it is to the success and profitability of your company. Stay tuned. Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Are you still mixing station gas and oil for your string trimmer, leaf blower, or chainsaw? Eliminate the mess and the guesswork with True Fuel, the original pre-mixed 2-cycle fuel. True Fuel is ethanol-free and precision-engineered for small engines, improving performance and extending the life of your outdoor power equipment. And True Fuel is available for both 2- and 4-cycle engines. Empower your equipment with True Fuel. Learn more at TrueFuel50.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world, no one rocks like Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey Turf's Up Radio fans, do you know what time it is? That's right, it's Turf's Up Radio time. Now you can hear the latest updates in green industry news, services and technology. Learn about new products all while enjoying the best music. If you don't believe me, then ask my good friend Alexa. Just say launch Turf's Up Radio.
Fed up with your current software solution? Field Routes is the cloud-based software technology you need to level up your lawn care business. From routing to scheduling, collections, marketing, reporting, and more. It's the all-in-one solution that automates, not complicates. Field Routes helps lawn care companies simplify, scale, and grow. Schedule your free demo today by visiting fieldroutes.com. That's fieldroutes.com.
Fieldroutes.com. Check it out. For a full demo, fieldroutes.com. Check it out. It'll be well worth a few minutes of your time to schedule that demo on how they can help your company be more successful and be more profitable. Fieldroutes.com. Trust it.
Hi, we're Big and Rich.
And I'm Cowboy Troy.
And you're listening to Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Bring it up.
For over 20 years, Cast Lighting has designed and manufactured the world's most durable, energy-efficient, and technically advanced landscape lighting products available at astonishingly affordable prices. Cast offers an all-encompassing line of products with everything you need to get the job done. Source Lighting, a new division by Cast, is your source for professional grand landscape lighting made of durable brass, offering both integrated and drop-in LED technology. Visit their website at cast-lighting.com today. That's cast-lighting.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Profit Time. Appreciate you guys being here with me. Appreciate the text, Smoking Joe, talking about people asking about his pricing and, and how he's bumped up his advertising game, and trying to increase that perceived value, but we got little things we do. It's all the little things that we can do, but, people want to pay more to Smoking Joe's point. He said they don't mind paying more when they see that perceived value and they know that you're worth it, or they think that you're worth it. They don't know that you're worth it until you try or they try it. But that's what it's all about, creating that perceived value, that perception that you're different and better than what they've got to offer. So great text, my friend. I appreciate it. And these other ones we got, let's see what we got here. That's funny. I'll bring that up in a minute, I promise. Oh, that's funny. All right. Good deal. Appreciate all the texts you guys are sending us. And certainly I'd want you to know that none of them go unread or unnoticed. It just don't have time to talk about, all of them. So, but I appreciate you guys sending all that in. But I appreciate that, Joe. Joe saying listening to Turf's Up Radio on Profit Time has taught him that, hey, he's worth it. Create that perceived value. I appreciate it, man. That's what it's all about. That's what Turf's Up Radio's here. It's your industry, your station. We're here to help you. We're here to help elevate and educate the industry. So speaking of that, let's get to the point before we talk our way past it. Let's talk about route density a little bit and why it's so important. And I appreciate you guys for giving me the idea of this. I was reading a post yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that Smoking Joe had put up on social media about, hey, here's what we're doing. We're changing. Another change. If you get one chance, one opportunity, will you take it? And absolutely, you guys are starting to take it. Take that chance. Make that change to help your company. And I think route density is something that's easily overlooked, and especially in a small company. As your company grows, you see the necessity because you see yourself running all over God's creation, and you're thinking, man, this isn't working out. You think it's working out because it's keeping you busy. But the reality of it is you got to ask yourself, what does route density really mean? what does route density really mean? You know, and that's what I want to talk about just a few minutes. And I appreciate that, Doug. He says, Turfs Up is his motivational day starter. Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate to be part of that with you. So let's look at route density for a second. You know, to me, what it meant for me and my company was establishing what we call a golden circle. First of all, we got to figure out, okay, who are we going to service? What areas are we going to service? And then what day during the week are we going to service those specific areas? Because it's two things. I think it's two things that we got to look at. First of all, let's establish, you know, what's going to happen within that circle that we establish. You know, how far out do you want to go, basically? Because I see guys and talk to guys all the time that are driving 30 and 40 minutes to mow a yard and not thinking about it. And they're like, well, man, I'm getting $75, $80 to mow this yard, or $125 to mow a yard. I've had guys even go that high with it. Man, it's a $125 yard. Okay, well, let's just look at it for a second, you know. But what we really got to think about is, what's it really costing us to do the job? What's it cost to do that job, you know? Mike's got a great idea. He says he lists the neighborhoods that they service right on their website, you know. So why not let the consumer know beforehand? You know, it's great that your phone rings and you think that your advertising's working, but establish that golden circle first, or that's what we call it. You don't have to call it a golden circle. Call it whatever you want. But just know that you've established where you're going to be working, you know, and then service those areas on certain days of the week. Now, that can be a little bit of the challenge, too, for some of us. Because, you know, it's like, oh, man, I don't want to miss out on that work. Well, it's kind of like driving 30 minutes or something, 25 minutes to go mow one yard that's outside your loop. The 25 minutes that you've lost getting there and getting back on route, let's look at that, man. That's 9/10 of an hour. It's 50 minutes. Just take your hourly cost. Let's just say it's $100 an hour, right? 90% of that's $90. It cost you had $90 in wasted time that if you could have, and not if you could have, it's if you would have. If you would have worried more about route density and not trying to be everything to everybody, be something to somebody, you know, absolutely. Talk about that as well. But we got to be who we are. And when I say that, sometimes that means you got to do a little redefining, a little closer look at yourself. Get the mirror out and look in the mirror and say, all right, is this working the way it should be working for me? You know, that's what you really got to ask yourself. You know, guy says he no longer lets their customers pick their days. No, absolutely not. Part of your sales presentation when you're talking to somebody is, hey, this is when we service your area. We're here on Tuesdays, or we're in this area on Wednesdays. Oh, man, I'd love to use you guys, but, man, you know, I got to have my yard cut on Thursday, or I got to have my yard cut on Friday. How many times don't you hear that as a commercial mowing contractor? Now, I know we got a lot of people listening that aren't mowing. You know, you're doing lawn apps and you're doing irrigation and you're doing landscape lighting and all, but it's all relevant to your business as well. We got to think about who we going to service, what day we going to service them, you know, your service calls. How you going to service them? Or are you just running from east end to west end to north end to south end and, you know, just happy to be out driving around making service calls thinking you got a full day booked when really all you're doing is wasting a heck of a lot of time and a heck of a lot of effort where you need something a little bit better business plan. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys know this, and most of you probably do, but, you know, UPS, the guys that drive the brown trucks around, not the USPS, but UPS, they went to a system where they're 99.9% of the time right turns only. And they went to that system many years ago because they saw the efficiencies of just continually making right-hand turns and the safety involved with a right-hand turn versus a left-hand turn, which generally meant you were going across the traffic side. I had one of the guys that camps with us down at Thunder. When we call it camping, when we go take RVs down Thunder and sit there, I had an opportunity to meet the fella, and he was telling me, he was the guy that actually implemented that for them, and the time it took, just to route things that way. But man, you talk about an education I got for free that day, and how that helped me with my company. Even look at our routing and why we did it the way we did it. It's you got to think about it. You've got to think about it with your business as well. And know that sometimes you're going to be better off passing on the work than you are taking the work. It goes back to what we talk about here on Profit Time and having the past, that sometimes saying no is the most profitable thing. And I appreciate all the texts you guys got coming in here, man. I really do. But, sometimes one of the most profitable things we do is say no. And that's what we all got to know. No pun intended with that. We've got to know that sometimes you got to just explain to the customer why, hey, this is where we mow on a certain day. To Mike's point, that's why he puts it on his website. These are the neighborhoods we service, or these are the zip codes that we service. There's lots of ways that you can eliminate some of the people that are going to call for service just by letting them know who you service. Hell, I looked up a dog groomer, a mobile dog groomer, and they had that on their sites. We service these zip codes. I didn't get mad about it because they didn't service my zip code. It saved me a phone call. So I think that's a great idea that we can look at and, let people, give them a heads up on it. Let's see them read this. Y'all sent me a lot of text. We'll try to catch up here just a little bit on some of these. He said it's an easy selling point. I sell it as being top of the list. Absolutely. Let's see. They know when they're going to be in their schedule. Exactly. So it all goes back to really all you got to be willing to do is make the change. Somebody else sent me a text here, says UPS, something else they do is they only get so many backups in a day, So that's pretty cool too. So, it goes back to those saying, if you want to be successful, emulate the successful people. Don't emulate the guys that are social media heroes and podcast heroes that haven't done this. And I'm not saying you got to emulate Wayne's Lawn Service or Profit Time or anybody here on Turf's Up Radio. I'm just saying, look at somebody that's successful, whoever it is, and emulate them. Don't emulate a guy that's having problems, just to be like everybody else. And I know that's stupid. That sounds crazy. I know it does. But what we got to do is create that golden circle, figure out what it's going to be for you, or golden rectangle, or whatever you want to do with it. Know that you're only going to mow in those certain areas or spray in those certain areas on those days. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you're never going to go outside that route, or, it goes back to the 95-5 rule in business. 95% of the time we're going to do something or greater, but there's going to be a time or two when we do something outside the policy. I get that too. That's the nice thing about you being the owner, is you've got the choice to do what you want to do. And if you want to get outside that loop for a minute, all right, that's cool. Or if you want to, Miss Smith is having a graduation party and she's normally a Tuesday mow, and Saturday they're going to have 50 people over at their house. Well, we have some of that too. That's just where some goodwill comes in. Go ahead and mow the yard. You know, when she says, hey, can you wait till Friday or Thursday to mow my yard? I got a big graduation party coming up. Well, hey, why don't we do this? You know, we've had a lot of rain. Let us mow it on your normal day, and we'll come back and pick it up for you at the end of the week as well. You're kind of protecting both of you in that situation. So I share that outside the loop of what would be best management practices for you. But sometimes we do things for goodwill for our customers too. So know that there's flexibility into your routing, but know that as a general rule, you're going to service general areas of the city or general areas of whatever it is in your market on certain days, you know, because if you're backloaded, what we call backloaded, and this is something else to think about even within your routing and your scheduling is, you know, it took me a long time to realize that I was much better off not mowing on Friday. And I know a lot of you guys are going to have a hard time hearing that or even thinking about it right now, but you'll probably get there at some point. You know, we leave Fridays open. We do not have any mowing scheduled for Friday. And I know I can hear you saying, well, man, my customers just wouldn't go for it, because that's what I thought. My customers just wouldn't go for it. And you do have some transitioning customers. You know, some people just think they got to have their yard mowed on Friday for some reason or another. But we have what we call an upside-down schedule. You know, our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is our heaviest mowing days of the week. Thursday, it's really light. Friday, there's none. Why do we build the schedule that way? Why do we route it that way? That's exactly right, because we don't want to get into a pinch. We don't want to get into trouble. So if we try to set ourselves up for success, it gives us the opportunity to be successful. But if we let our customers drive the bus, it sets us up for failure. And, you know, I can hear you thinking, you know, man, this sounds good, but I just don't know if I can do it. You can absolutely do it. You've just got to decide that you're going to do it. Kind of like Smoking Joe did in Central Kentucky. He made a decision, and I hope you don't mind me sharing that with everybody. Hell, you posted it on social media, that, hey, this is the way I'm doing it from now on. I love you. I want you to stay. But if you don't, that's okay. You get to the point with your business where, hey, you're going to be the guy that drives the bus. I need a hat or something like that, or a shirt that, you know, I'm the bus driver. That's what you need to do. You need to commit to being the bus driver of your business, that you're going to drive the bus. But take the time to build that tighter route. You know, now, I also realize, you know, God, just it's a startup company, you're going to do some bouncing around, you know. But if you think now of, hey, what areas do I eventually want to service, then start setting those areas up now for a day. Now, if you just literally start your business today, then guess what? You're going to have an account here, you're going to have an account over there, and you're going to have an account over there, and you're going to do a little driving to get that set up. But how are you going to build that route density? How are you going to build that route density? You're going to take each of those areas that you're going to right now, and you're going to get you some door hangers or some flyers, and you're going to give them to each adjoining neighbor, at least one. Two's not going to hurt. And on every stop you make. On every stop you make. Whether they got somebody cutting their yard or not, doesn't matter. Or whether they got somebody spraying their yard or not. You're not talking bad about your competitor. You're just trying to increase your route density. So you're just putting a little something in front of the customer. You're dangling that carrot out there that maybe they've had a bad experience with the person that's been treating their lawn or mowing their lawn or doing their landscaping, or, you know, their hedge trimming last time was jacked up, or whatever it is. There's a million reasons. But take all the customers that you service and get a professionally done door hanger, a professionally done flyer, something, that looks professional, right? And why do we want a professional? Exactly. Thank God I didn't even have to say it. That's right. You're exactly right. That's why we want to keep it professional. It's going to create the perceived value. Now, people generally want something they don't have that they like. And if you are creating the perceived value of the, man, that yard always looks nice, right? How many times haven't people walked up to you and said, man, that looks nice. I'd like to get a price on that. You know, I'd like to get a price on that. So you're constantly wanting to increase that density. And the way you do it is to do a great job. And, you know, Mike just sent me a great thing that's very important as well. He says, you know, the biggest thing that's helped them out in building their density, and think about this, guys. This is to the point. This is money. This is money right here. You know, this really is. All right. It's simply waving and smiling when the neighbors are out. Waving and smiling at a neighbor when you're there on the property. You're not servicing them, but you're giving them professional courtesy. It's the first act of perceived value in person. They see your work, but when they finally see you in your truck sitting there and you hop out of the truck and you smile and wave, you're doing something that most people in business, not just our industry, you know, you can be in the landscape lighting business or the irrigation business or the roofing business, the dog kennel business. It doesn't matter what you're in. How many times haven't you seen somebody get out and not even, they don't even look around, number one. But to Mike's point, you know, hey, it doesn't cost you a penny to smile and wave. And that, my friends, to Mike's point, and he's 100% spot on, is contagious. That's one of the things we always tell our guys. You know, you see somebody, smile and wave. Doesn't matter if they're a customer. Hell, I've pulled up to customers' properties before thinking, oh, my God, she's home. How many of you guys have done that, right? Oh, my God, she's home. Oh, it happens. It happens. Got to take a quick break. Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station. We'll be right back. And I've done it again. I've went over my time.
Let the world know you need business with logoed gear from Gemplers. We'll add your logo for free on your orders of 6 or more. Build your brand on a small business budget so your crew looks sharp and your client gifts make an impact. Gemplers has the brands you love and some you should, like Carhartt, Columbia, and Under Armour, plus Yeti and Stanley Drinkware and more. Add your logo free. Tell the world you're legit with help from family-owned and independent Gemplers. We know what it's like to be a business on the grow. We get you the right products at the right value and ship it quick right to your door. Shop Gemplers.com. That's Gemplers.com.
Check it out, Gemplers.com. That rain gear. And, you know, I've talked about rain gear today, and we've talked on our show about rain gear with Hillary. But, you know, the reality is they've got a million different products, man, that'll help your company be more successful and more profitable. You know, take the opportunity. One chance, one opportunity. You going to take it, or are you just going to let it slip away? That's the question. You know, as we wrap up our show today on Profit Time, be sure to listen on today to my buddy Jose Rowland's show at 1. I'm sure he's going to have a great show for you. We got our replays coming up. Be sure to join our Turfs Up Radio new website. Check it out, turfsupradio.com. And as we round out our discussion today about route density and how we can increase it, and I want your takeaway today to be Mike's suggestion. Just simply wave and smile, man. It doesn't cost you a dime. Wave and smile when you see the customer. Simple. Simple. It doesn't get easier than that, does it? What's a wave cost you? What's a smile cost you? Absolutely nothing. But what it might do for you is get that next door neighbor or that neighbor 2 doors down and help increase that route density. And what happens when you increase your route density? Your costs go lower and your profits go higher. And remember, profit is not a dirty word. See you Wednesday.
Get back. I'm alright, Jack. Keep your hands off of my stack. Money, it's a hit. Don't